of course, a team maybe pays attention to all the people who are surrounding them, especially when you're out of town. But when you start looking at real estate, and of course, we just came out of this kind of topsy-turvy, really 6 months, where you had 6 months ago, you had 35 or 40 offers on a house. Market rates creep up. Everybody freezes a little bit. Then people try to kind of dive in, and now it's almost normal. I mean, we seem like at least the huge ups and downs of the market are a little bit different. Is that fair?
I mean, from my subjective perspective, things definitely feel normal. As normal as in listings will sell in a few weeks. Not all of them go in multiple offers, and not all of them sell at full price. There are discounts out there, not discounts like 2009, but the bottom line is don't feel desperate as a buyer. There's a good balance. There's more inventory. Go for it.
It really seems like moving forward, you could start to see like springtime could really feel nice and normal.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. I'm expecting the typical January, February explosion. If you're a buyer, it's best to get in now. Every year, the most aggressive multiple offers I see are January, February, March. Buyers hit it like a tsunami. And sellers just are reluctant to list because they think, hey, my yard doesn't look very good. Well, no one's yard looks any good that time of year. So recognize supply and demand. You want to be on the correct side of that, just like as an investor.
Sure. So as people start to maybe think about buying their house, whether it's in January or this month or next month, whenever it is, we've always been such an advocate, and I know you are too, of kind of creating this team around you. Because it is a team effort, and a lot of people, especially their first time maybe buying a house, they don't realize, and we've counted something like 22 people who help you with your transaction, help you buy a house between your real estate broker, your lender, your title, your, top to bottom, the assistants and everything. How do you feel about kind of that team, and how do you help people assemble it?
The team is critical. I mean, as a potential buyer, potential seller, you don't just want to interview a real estate broker and ask them about their experience and what their plan is to help you. You want to ask them about the team they have in place because, if you have a weak link in there, it can create a real headache. If you have an escrow officer who's not on the ball, you may miss your closing time. Then you have to ask for an extension. And then all of a sudden, everyone's moving dates are pushed out. All of a sudden, there might be more closing costs, and there starts to be a real financial hit to these things when the timelines change. So, you want not just a pro broker, but you want a pro broker with a pro team around them.
And so how does somebody find those types? I mean, what are the questions they need to ask to determine if a good broker has a good team?
Ask them for the track record. Ask them, hey, how often do you have to have closings extended? Because that's not just a reflection of escrow. That's also a reflection of the lender that's been chosen. And does that lender have more work on their plate than they have staff to handle it? I got to be honest, everyone has a gripe about the other profession. And one of the things I wish lenders would address is when they see a wave of refis coming or they see a wave of purchases coming, bring in more staff. So that we don't hear, hey, it normally would have been 2 weeks in underwriting. Now it's going to be 4 weeks in underwriting. That makes it very tough to present an appealing offer to a seller when you tell the seller, well, we need to close in 6 weeks, not 4. So there's quite a bit to review there. Be patient, folks, when you're interviewing. And, ask these brokers to document not just their successes, but, the headaches too, because every broker's had them, and how do they handle them?
I would agree. Everybody has had them, haven't they?
Without question. Someone that tells you they haven't had challenges, that's BS.
Right. So if somebody goes through, they find real estate agents in all different ways. You're kind of interviewing the agent, what successes they've had. Talk about the entire team, though, and all the people that you essentially are putting together. Because I would say the real estate agent is the point person, kind of like the quarterback, but there is a whole bunch of people that are going to be involved, an inspector, an appraiser, all these different facets that you really need to be in tune with.
Yeah, no doubt. We'll approach it from the buyer's side first. Obviously, you have your lender, your mortgage broker, and I highly recommend getting a mortgage broker. Get someone who has an incentive to shop that loan for you, not just a person filling a desk at a big bank. Those folks have 3 or 4 options versus your mortgage broker has dozens and dozens. But then, if your real estate broker is your quarterback, you got to look at within that lender, there's the underwriter. And the underwriter is probably the team owner because without the underwriters green lighting the loan, no one gets to play.
Sure. That's right.
Truly.
Yeah.
And then
It's like a weather delay.
exactly. And then within the lender, of course, there's many other moving components. I mean, there's loan processors, there's document creators, there's so many people that have to be a well-oiled machine for that part to work well. And then you jump over to and you look at escrow. And for those new folks out there that hear the term escrow and are not familiar, my analogy has always been that escrow is like Switzerland. You know, you wouldn't go, they're the neutral party to make sure no one walks away with both the money and the asset. And here's my analogy. So you're buying a car from a stranger, and you don't hand over the money until you get the car, the keys, and the title. So escrow makes sure that that part of it is handled smoothly. And they also prorate every expense to the day. So your lender will create a good faith estimate to get you something that approximates how much it will cost out of pocket to buy a home. But that's always going to be plus or minus a couple $100 because the lender doesn't know exactly the utility costs, exactly the property taxes, things like that. So just know as a buyer, when you see the final number from escrow, it will be a little different.
Mm-hmm. And how do you find people being flexible about that? I know that, I come from the lending world, and it's almost impossible to get it perfect. I mean, it really is tough. Things change all the time, which is why it's an estimate in the beginning, I suppose. But, there's some, I think that, or it seems that so you really do get two different types. People who are like, it is what it is, and people like, well, why didn't you tell me?
Yeah, I mean, this comes down to, one of my most important roles as a broker is communicating. I need to let my clients know in advance, hey, these lenders don't have completely accurate figures to work with. Some things had better be point on, like the rate on your note, and other things are going to be estimates by them. They're going to estimate your homeowner's insurance because they don't have the binder in front of them. They're going to estimate utilities, estimate property tax prorations. So just be advised as buyers, there's some stuff that won't be known till the very end.
What about the rest of the team? I mean, the people that you don't always, you might meet once. Maybe you meet an appraiser, maybe you don't. Now, of course, that's a lender role, but, these are all, you have this first team, second team, third team that a lot of buyers don't even know they're going to have and pay for.
Exactly. Well, I should cover there's 3 job titles that are routinely mixed up by folks who are new to the process. So you have an inspector, you have an appraiser, you have an assessor. The inspector is a third party hired by you, the buyer. This is your choice, whatever state licensed inspector you want. Now, you don't have to hire a state licensed inspector, but you have to hire a state licensed inspector if you want to negotiate based on the flaws they found. That's part of the MLS contracts. Then you go with an appraiser, and appraisers...
Which kind of makes sense. I will go inspect the house, and I think it needs a new roof.
Exactly, yeah. We don't want the opinions to count in negotiation for those who are not fully licensed and dialed in.
No, it makes sense. It makes sense.
But then you have appraisers, and appraisers only do one thing. They verify the value of the asset, the current market value of the asset, should the lender have to take it back. So it's something all of us consumers have to pay for, yet it only serves the purpose of the lender because they're taking the risk. And finally, you have the assessor, who is merely an accounting employee, and they just go out and determine to their own crazy formula.
How many taxes you're going to pay.
Exactly. And be advised, folks, of the 3 people who value your property. Real estate broker, we do a market analysis. Appraiser, do an appraisal. The assessors seem to have the largest margin of error. I mean, serious margin of error, because their whole formula is based on the rearview mirror. So they're going to pull comps to your property that are either way high or way low.
Well, they're also, aren't they actually looking at the previous years? I mean, you get assessed for the previous year.
Yep. I would love it if they would just completely wake up and just go with the last 90 days. I mean, they can't have any foresight. No one can use active properties on the market as a market value because some of those properties are severely overpriced and they won't sell. So you have to go with a sold, with the sold database, but use a tight window of time. These markets are in motion, not as aggressively as stocks are, but you definitely will be in error if you pull something from 6-9 months ago.
Interesting. Well, Michael, we just have about a couple minutes left. So talk about from the seller side, because you have, as you said, you have all these different people playing into the buyer. What about the seller?
The seller, you still have escrow, of course, but you also need to consider title insurance. You have to have title insurance to sell a property by law in the state. And title insurance is merely a legal inspection. And to give an example, they really, dig into the county records and find crazy stuff. Like I sold a property in Leshai that it had a garage deeded to that parcel, but the garage lied on the neighbor's parcel. And what happened a long time ago, like 1931, they drew up this crazy agreement to provide partial access through Lot A to service Lot B. And Lot B said, okay, you can have one of my 2 garage bays to service your parcel, but you have to dig in and make sure that really legally applies so that
Which I imagine wouldn't at this point in time.
Well, actually, we confirmed it does, but
really,
it's really something as, once it's recorded with that parcel, it has legal effect. But as a buyer, you really want to do your research and make sure that.
Hey, buddy, you're going to need to pull your boat out because my car is going in there.
Exactly.
I can imagine. It's a good way to make friends with your new neighbors.
Exactly. And title insurance, too, matters on some stuff. Like, let's say you're buying 40 acres up in the Cascades. You want to make sure that half of that hasn't been, given to a power line company for a power line easement, something that will trash your market value.
Yeah. Well, Michael, so when you start looking at the title insurance, that is really kind of an inspection of the property more than it is anything.
Yeah, you need that legal inspection. We all do. So definitely a good thing to have. But then, as a seller, you also want to consider, your team of maybe contractors if you need to fix the property up to sell it. And definitely, most properties could use some staging. Some properties need complete staging. And why you need that is because if a buyer tours 10 properties and you're the only property with no furniture, you feel a little empty. You feel like you're lacking. You're not competing.
And you're really trying to get into that emotional state, which is a whole other topic, isn't it, to get into staging and et cetera, et cetera.
It is. You want that buyer to come in and feel like they can immediately sit down, turn on the game, and grab a beer.